Welcome to Troubleshooting Innovation, a commercial baking podcast sponsored by Reading Bakery Systems, your trusted partner for innovative bakery and snack solutions, helping you bake for a better tomorrow with the most advanced sustainable baking solutions on the market. This season, I'm speaking with Darlene Nicosia, CEO of Hearthside Food Solutions, and we are talking about operations, culture, and innovation behind the curtain of co-manufacturing. In this episode, we take a look at what it means to be a modern contract manufacturer. Hi, Darlene. Nice to see you again.
Great to see you, Joanie. How are you?
I am great. Thank you again for such a lively conversation last week around R&D. I'm really excited for this week and just kind of looking at a lot of issues when it comes to what it means to be a modern co-manufacturer. So I'm going to kick this off with one simple question. Is it just me, or has demand for contract manufacturing drastically increased over the past few years?
Well, there's no doubt. There's definitely an acceleration of contract manufacturing taking place, and there are a lot of reasons for it. Maybe I'll focus on three big reasons that I think there's been a rise in contract manufacturing. There's incredible demand that was created during COVID. And I would tell you that what happened where people changed their eating behaviors away from home and everybody was locked down and at home and spending more time with their families, there was a huge demand for food at home. And so if you think about a business like ours, where we're predominantly in the snacking side of business, we saw incredible demand for products out in the marketplace. And so many of our customers called on us not only to ramp up the things that we were already manufacturing for them, but there were certain places where customers were outstripped of capacity and they asked us for help, and we became, a massive overflow point for them as well. And so I think you first saw this huge surge coming from COVID, but I think there are other reasons for it. You've never seen a marketplace like it is today. There are so many insurgent brands out there with great ideas, new ingredients, healthy, better for you ingredients, all types of sustainability coming into play as it relates to packaging. And so you've seen a number of insurgent brands come forward. And typically those insurgent brands can't afford or don't have the expertise to have their own manufacturing infrastructures. They need to wait till they scale, or perhaps they prefer to really focus on brand building. And so they never really build an infrastructure from a supply chain standpoint, and they call on contract manufacturers to truly be their partners. And I'd say, within that, you look at the cost of capital and there are choices being made. And many of our customers would say they'd rather invest in media and advertising and consumer-facing investments versus spending it on the capital side in infrastructure. And then I just think the most important piece in all of this is the expertise that really gets accelerated and brought forward by contract manufacturing. If you think about it, strong, capable organizations with end-to-end capabilities from R&D all the way through to commercialization and manufacturing, safety, quality, all the things that you would want in your own internal manufacturing, but it's external. And that expertise is somebody else who's invested incredibly to bring those products and those skills to market. And so I think that capability externally has really accelerated the maturity of organizations. The sophistication of contract manufacturing has really grown over the last several years. And so our customers now have choice, and they're turning to contract manufacturing more and more frequently.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned emerging brands, and that's something that has really been on my radar a lot lately. It just seems like there is this huge influx. It's just like the creativity and identifying gaps in the marketplace, and couple that with this new idea of what health and wellness looks like and consumers' reluctance to make sacrifices for their health and wellness in indulging in the foods that they like. It's all kind of come together for this surge of these emerging brands. How is it impacting the contract manufacturing industry? And is this a trend that has staying power? Is it going to make a lasting impact on contract manufacturing?
Okay, well, look, you absolutely see this incredible amount of, I would say, innovation coming forward from these insurgent brands. They bring to bear all kinds of great ideas. They're tapping into ideas that may emerge at a dinner table and they turn around and they can find contract manufacturing and in weeks have product to market. So they bring this entrepreneurialism, they bring this speed to market. They call on contract manufacturers because of that speed and that capability that we can often offer to them. It's kind of this incredible situation. I think in my earlier question, I mentioned that the maturity of contract manufacturing has so accelerated and evolved. And so there are fewer and fewer barriers for a new brand really to get to market. First of all, they can do, direct to consumer very easily through digital, right? Just about anybody can sell what they want through a digital channel that's easy to create. So the accessibility to the consumer has been incredibly changed by technology. And then again, I think you marry that up with the ability to manufacture in a high quality way through contract manufacturing. It really does bring this tremendous amount of just excitement into the space that we operate in. Many of these emerging brands, they start to grow, they start to get the attention of the big guys. And then often, they're acquired by a company that has the ability to scale them, the ability to get them distribution, shelf space, things like that. And so for the winners out there, it really is an exciting time. And I think contract manufacturing has definitely enabled both the ability to execute and innovate in that space, but also the accessibility to grow quickly.
Yeah. When you talk about like the ones that are ultimately getting acquired, I've always had kind of this theory. When you think about some authors, there are certain authors out there who write books intentionally to be adapted to a screenplay. And I have a theory that there are entrepreneurs who develop brands to be acquirable.
There is absolutely no doubt. You can see it in the marketplace. Many of them are famous now, but they have their own quote unquote recipe book. They know how to do this. They have a playbook. They're great people to partner with. Certainly, they're very innovative, and they've got a network, which is so critically important, again, to get brands visibility, awareness, and trial.
So your scope of customers is really broad. I mean, you work with smaller, nimble ones, and you work with the really big brands. So this rise in need for co-manufacturers and this influx of these insurgent brands, when it all comes together, what does that mean in terms of the competitive landscape for a co-manufacturer, especially when you have no brand to market?
I think that we market ourselves as a trusted, reliable partner. And our reputation is determined by the quality and the service and the reliability that we bring. But I also think value-added capabilities are what differentiates a company like Hearthside. We really bring those to bear. I know in an earlier episode, we talked about our R&D capability, and certainly unmatched in our size relative to some of our big customers. But if you can get the right audience and you can have the right conversation, we can bring some of that capability to complement what our big customers are doing. And so we do transactional work, but we, I think, even do better work when we're working in partnership with our customers. And when we get the opportunity to build those lasting relationships, we can bring more of our capabilities to bear, whether it's related to how we do our work, the commercialization and support that we bring, or how we service our customers. But there's no greater joy than seeing one of our customers truly scale a product, be hugely successful, and feel like, certainly we were part of that success.
Okay, as a mother, I feel like it is like watching your child do something great and just sort of being back behind the scenes and being like, that's my kid. I helped him get there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Our employees feel like they're an extension of the brands they manufacture every day. So whether or not their, shirt says Hearthside or not, there's a tremendous amount of pride they take in what they do.
I love that. I love that you have a workforce that has pride in the brands that they produce. That's really cool. This episode is brought to you by Reading Bakery Systems, your trusted partner for innovative bakery and snack solutions. For more than 130 years, RBS has driven the continuous improvement of bakery systems to help make their customers successful. Passion for innovation coupled with intelligent designs and a research-based approach, make RBS the only partner you'll need to ensure your product's success. Reading Bakery Systems. Successful snacks start here. Learn more at readingbakery.com. So we've talked about this and we got into a little bit a couple of weeks ago. Your experience from the brand side of things, does it impact your view now as a co-manufacturer and how you go to market? I know that you have a philosophy that speed wins. So how does that work in the context of today's conversation?
It's funny because among my leadership team meetings, we always talk about, the importance of supporting the brands that we work for and understanding what a brand stands for. I mean, consumer expectations today are so high and they want to know that they can trust and they want to know that they're, eating a quality product. Those are paramount. And so we have the responsibility to ensure that all those things take place as we manufacture for our customers. They entrust us with billion-dollar brands, and we have to be the network that supports those brands in a way that absolutely maintains that trust at the point of consumption with the consumer. So it's really important for us. We talk about it a lot. I certainly, when I'm with other CEOs and talk with them about their businesses, there's no doubt I understand the trust they're placing in us when they asked us to manufacture their brands.
All right. So that's a good segue into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's pulling back the curtain, and contract manufacturing, is on the radar more than it has been. And one specific example is that Hearthside was identified in a New York Times article earlier this year that led to a bit of a crisis. And I guess that's the best way to put it. And it really brought contract manufacturing to the forefront in a way that was maybe unexpected, I guess is the easiest way to put it, but that's really putting it lightly. So I'm interested to just kind of hear your perspective on how a PR situation like that comes to light and how you learn from it and move forward from it.
At the end of the day, we are in a manufacturing industry and customers come to us for our asset infrastructure. And I want to say that word asset infrastructure because people are assets. And when I think about it, this asset infrastructure, which includes our people, and as many people know, the labor market has been tight for the last couple of years. And American manufacturing jobs they are harder to fill today than they were even 3 years ago. And so we have a lot to do to attract more people into wanting these types of roles and giving them training and helping them develop so they can continue to grow into a career. And so when I think about that, we've relied more recently on temporary workers to staff our plants, while in parallel, we've been aggressively hiring full-time employees. So when this came to us, I mean, my first reaction was one of shock and disbelief, but we quickly pivoted to engaging with our temporary agencies, really to confirm they were abiding by our policy of requiring any of their temporary workers that entered our facilities were age 18 and over. And we asked them to go out and validate their employment practices and confirm back to us that they were taking the proper steps and they had the steps in place to confirm all their temporary workers were 18 and over. And they all came back and they did certify that to us. We also then required all of our temporary agencies that we worked with to utilize E-Verify. Some did, some didn't. We made it mandatory moving forward. But also on the customer side of this, we go through great lengths to protect the confidentiality of what we do and who we do it for. So we also immediately place calls into our customers to tell them our stance, our policies, our practices, and the changes that we were making. While unfortunate, the best of relationships, I believe, are forged in the toughest of times. And so for us, I would say that was even true. The situation allowed us to really get even closer to our customers and to talk with them about our practices. And many of them knew us. They knew us for many, many years. They knew the type of customer relationship that we had with them, and they believed in us. And so I think that we learned a lot. We've made the proper adjustments to our system, and we continue to be a trusted partner.
From a leadership standpoint, what would you say if you had to sum up like this is what I learned in my first year on the job. How to move forward from such a devastating situation. How do you move forward from that and maintain those high standards that you personally do have in taking care of your workforce?
Well, I think the very first thing is communication, whether it was talking to customers, talking to our own employees, talking about the values that we stand for. There is nothing that takes the place of communication. And again, we absolutely turn to our teams and turn to our partners, quite frankly, and talk with them about our business and what we believed in and the things that we were doing and had done. And, I think being able to maintain an open line of communication and knowing that you have values and you have these processes in place are probably the biggest thing that a business has to have as its foundation. But I think for me, my greatest learning was just continue to talk to people, continue to engage in dialogue and make sure there's open conversation.
I really like what you said about, your relationships become stronger in times of adversity. And that's when you really discover the strength of the relationship when the times are bad. So, one, I appreciate your candor. And two, I appreciate what you've taken away from it and how you're moving forward and just carrying those strong relationships through because it's not easy.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Having this conversation about contract manufacturing having a much thinner veil than it ever did, I'm curious, how do you see this evolution impacting things like culture within the organization or really contract manufacturing in general?
I think this idea of thinning of the veil is becoming really important to my team as we talk through our ambition to be our customer's best partner. And I'm sincere in that I feel like as I came in the business, too many of our relationships felt more tactical than they were strategic. And as I've gotten to know so many of our customers, I'm constantly talking to them about, on one hand, the opportunity for us to work much more closely together. But I'm constantly also kind of sharing my point of view on how our relationship could be different and they would benefit from it. Right. So talking about the value equation and really trying to share with them this idea of a relationship that goes far beyond CPG and contract manufacturer. It's one of great transparency, especially in the commitments to each other for support and planning. But it's this opportunity to also become extremely efficient, faster to market, and really bringing the opportunity to essentially affect their growth agenda at a faster rate. But the only way that we can do that is by working more closely together and trying to, really eliminate some of that tactical behavior that I think is really prevalent in this industry.
Yeah, yeah. And okay, so this thought just occurred to me. We've talked a lot this season about your experience leading a well-known brand. But the truth is, it doesn't matter what brand you came from or where you came from. You came into contract manufacturing not having been in contract manufacturing, and you came in at a time of, dare I say, upheaval. And so you have an incredibly unique perspective that is completely fresh from anything that anybody has seen on the co-manufacturing side. And so usually a contract manufacturer, it's like, well, we have a problem. Now you have to solve it. Like, clean up this mess, like, help us with that. But it sounds like you're coming into this and looking forward for the industry with how can we proactively avoid those problems and streamline things so that we can be a better partner, like help us help you type of thing. Is that fair to say?
It absolutely is. And I do think, at the heart of it, it is really about helping our customers be successful. But it also is partially selfish because I see the frustration from my own, internal teams, and they wish they had known about something earlier because they could have helped, or they saw a problem coming and they didn't have an outlet to communicate within our customer base. And the person that they would share it with wasn't able to escalate it to get it to the right person in the right department. And so just this idea of being able to be better partners really does create, I think, a tremendous amount of value in everything that we do. So it really does resonate with me.
Talk about being a disruptor. I really think that you have the ability to sort of change the game for modern co-manufacturing.
Oh, you're so kind, Joanie. Look, we're doing our best, one step at a time here at Hearthside. So,
yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to end this week on.
Well, thank you. I look forward to our time again next week.
Yeah. So next week will be our last episode. And as if I couldn't get more excited because every conversation with you is so interesting. But next week, I'm so excited because we really are going to unpack your unique leadership perspective as a CEO with a very interesting background. So I can't wait for next week to wrap up the season.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanie.
Thanks, Darlene. Thank you for listening to Troubleshooting Innovation. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Reading Bakery Systems. For more information on RBS and their industry-leading sustainable baking solutions, visit readingbakery.com.